Okay, so picture this. You're in Los Angeles, battling one of those crazy wildfires. The heat is intense, the terrain is treacherous, and you're literally risking your life out there.
Oh, yeah.
Now imagine doing all that for less than $6 an hour.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that was the reality for 783 incarcerated firefighters who were tackling those recent blazes in Southern California.
Wow.
We're diving into California's pretty controversial program
Right.
where prisoners are actually fighting these wildfires.
Interesting.
And get this, the program has been around for over a century.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? A century of using incarcerated individuals to fight these massive fires. There's a lot to unpack there.
Exactly, and we've got a lot of ground to cover. We've got articles, we've got interviews, even a breakdown of that 2022 proposition that aimed to change the whole system.
Oh, interesting.
So we're going to explore the history of this whole program.
Okay.
The arguments for and against it, and most importantly, the human stories at the core of it all.
It's a complex story, and we'll try to make sense of it together for sure.
So let's rewind all the way back to 1915.
Okay.
That's when this program first began.
Wow.
What's the deal with that? Why has California consistently relied on incarcerated folks to do this super dangerous work?
You know, it's almost like a historical bargain,
Right.
but with some really, really uncomfortable consequences.
Yeah.
So back then, the state needed firefighters.
Uh-huh.
And prisons, well, they had this readily available workforce.
Right, right.
So I guess it seemed like a way to, address both issues, but it ended up creating a system that a lot of people, they argue that it's inherently exploitative.
And it's not just a California thing either.
No, not at all.
I mean, we found sources talking about at least a dozen other states that have these similar programs.
That's right. Yeah, it's a nationwide phenomenon, really.
Yeah.
And it raises some pretty tough questions, about labor, about justice.
Right.
About what choice even means, within the prison system.
Okay, well, let's talk about choice then, because it seems like a pretty loaded term in this context. In 2022, California voters, they had a chance to weigh in on this whole issue with Proposition 6.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have banned involuntary labor in prisons, including this firefighting work.
Interesting.
But it ultimately failed.
Well, think about that for a second.
Yeah.
You're incarcerated. You're facing years in this really harsh environment.
Right.
And suddenly there's this opportunity to work outdoors, maybe even earn some reduced sentences, potentially even a chance to clear your record.
Wow.
So is that really a free choice?
Right. Good question.
Or is it just a choice born out of desperation?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's complicated.
And it gets even more complicated when you think about the wages.
Oh.
I mean, these firefighters, they're earning, what, $2 to $6 an hour while they're on duty.
Wow.
And with a daily maximum of $10.24, even when they're in the middle of an active emergency.
It's a stark contrast to the dangers they face.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about intense heat, hazardous terrain, potential for serious injuries, even death.
Right.
And for what? Just a few dollars an hour.
There was a quote from one incarcerated firefighter that really stuck with me. He told Hassan Piker, the journalist, "We're the backbone of the operation. We get the rough and tough end of the stick."
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, it really gets to the heart of the matter.
Right.
These individuals, they're performing essential work, high-risk work. But the way they're compensated and treated, often it just doesn't reflect the sacrifice they're making.
So we've got this system where incarcerated individuals are doing this incredibly dangerous work for almost no money, facing intense conditions.
Yeah.
Is anyone actually defending this system?
You do have some people, like Matthew Hahn, for instance.
Right.
He's a former incarcerated firefighter. And he acknowledges the dangers. But he argues that the work, at least it was preferable to being, stuck inside those prison walls.
Yeah.
It gave him, a sense of purpose.
Right.
Chance to be outside, a glimmer of hope.
Sure.
But then you have voices like Lori Wilson,
Okay.
a California Assembly member who was really pushing for Proposition 6. she's advocating for fairer wages, for better opportunities for these firefighters once they're released.
Right.
So it's this classic ethical dilemma. Does the end justify the means? Can we justify a system that benefits from the labor of individuals who have very limited choices, even if it does provide them with some benefits?
It's a tough one to really understand what these firefighters go through, what they're actually experiencing. We have to hear their stories firsthand.
Their voices are so important.
And Hassan Piker's interviews, they offer this really raw, unfiltered glimpse into their lives.
Yeah, his work is so powerful.
One firefighter who called himself Kimbo, he paints this vivid picture of life on a fire crew.
Right.
He describes these 24-hour shifts, back-breaking labor with hand tools, dodging falling rocks. It's a grueling experience.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly challenging.
And what really got me was the emotional weight of his words. He talked about being treated like a human being on those fire lines.
Right.
Which was a stark contrast to the dehumanizing conditions he experienced, in prison.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It really makes you think, what is the true purpose of this whole program?
Yeah.
I mean, is it about rehabilitation? Is it about offering a second chance?
Right.
Or is it just about exploiting a vulnerable workforce for dangerous and honestly essential work?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And I think to even begin to answer it, we need to dig deeper into the economic realities of this program and the impact it has on both the state and the individuals that are involved.
Right, that's key. It's easy to get caught up in those ethical debates.
Right.
But there's a whole economic side to this, a cold, hard reality.
Oh, for sure.
That 2022 report by the ACLU and the University of Chicago, it really opened my eyes. It said that prison labor, work that's often done for next to nothing,
right,
it actually generates billions of dollars worth of goods and services every single year.
Wow.
So it's not just about individual ethics. It's a whole economic engine we're talking about.
Okay, so we can't ignore the money aspect of all of this.
Nope.
California is saving a ton of money using these incarcerated firefighters.
Right.
But are we okay with that trade-off?
It's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to keep using this system, shouldn't we at least invest in making it fairer to the people involved?
Right.
Like fair wages, proper training, and actually helping these firefighters find jobs once they're released.
Exactly.
I mean, these are people risking their lives for the state.
For real.
Shouldn't we be doing more to support them?
It feels like it's beyond just making a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
This sounds like a complete system overhaul is needed.
You got it.
This isn't just about tinkering around the edges.
No.
You zoom out, you see the bigger picture. This program, it's just one piece of a much bigger issue.
Yeah.
Prison labor, criminal justice reform.
It's all connected.
The whole role of incarceration in our society.
Exactly.
So to our listener out there, you might be thinking, okay, that's California's problem, not mine.
Right.
But here's the thing. This goes way beyond state lines.
It does.
These issues, they resonate with everyone, everywhere.
Absolutely.
How do we balance public safety with individual rights?
That's the question.
Especially within a system as flawed as incarceration. And how can we even talk about fair labor practices when the workforce basically has zero choice in the matter?
Good point.
These are questions every state, every community needs to be asking themselves.
It's true.
It's easy to get lost in the legal jargon and all the statistics.
It is.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings here.
Real people.
These are people with families and hopes and dreams trying to navigate a system that often feels designed to work against them.
Yeah, it's tough.
Their stories need to be heard.
Absolutely. We got to listen to their experiences, try to understand their perspective.
Right.
This isn't about placing blame. It's about having an honest conversation.
For sure.
About how we can create a system that's truly fair for everyone.
We've done a lot of unpacking in this deep dive. The history, the economics, the human stories.
Definitely.
And this ethical maze this whole program creates.
Yeah.
So what does it all mean for the future of this program in California?
Right.
And for other states with similar programs across the country, we've talked about, the ethics, the economics, all of that. But what really gets me are the human stories. These incarcerated firefighters are facing such incredible risks.
Aye.
And for what? for measly wages and a system that often feels like it's working against them.
It's true.
Even after they've served their time.
It's like we're asking them to fight fire with fire.
Right.
They're battling these blazes, but they're also battling this system.
Right.
That seems determined to hold them back.
We touched on this a bit earlier, but let's dive a little deeper. What specifically makes it so hard for these folks to transition into a professional career after they're released?
Imagine this, right? You put your life on the line, you gained all this experience, and you're ready for a fresh start.
Right.
But then you hit a wall, and that wall, it's background checks.
Oh, yeah.
They're a huge barrier for anyone with a record. Even for those who've served their time, even for those who've proven their skills.
It's like a catch-22, right?
Exactly.
We encourage them to gain experience, but then we slam the door shut when they try to turn that experience into a real career.
And it's not just about fairness, it's about practicality.
Right.
These individuals, they've proven themselves. They've shown they can handle high-pressure situations. They've developed skills that are in demand. Why wouldn't we want to tap into that?
So what can be done? How do we bridge this gap between, the experience and the opportunities?
Well, it's multifaceted.
Yeah.
We have to rethink how we use background checks.
Yeah.
Maybe move toward a system that evaluates each case individually.
Okay.
Taking into account what the offense was, how much time has passed, and the person's efforts at rehabilitation.
Makes sense.
We need to stop with this blanket exclusion that basically brands them for life.
It's about recognizing their potential, giving them a fair chance, not holding their past against them forever.
Yeah. Exactly. And we need to go further. We need to build stronger support systems to help these folks navigate reentry into society.
Okay.
Programs with job placement assistance that's tailored to their experience, housing support to get them on their feet, mental health services to help them deal with the trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been through a lot, both in prison and on those fire lines.
It sounds like we need a complete system overhaul, one that focuses on rehabilitation and actually giving these folks a real chance to rebuild their lives.
It's about shifting from punishment to restoration.
Right.
It's about creating a system that empowers them.
Yeah.
Not one that keeps them marginalized.
This deep dive has been, it's been eye-opening. We've gone deep into California's incarcerated firefighter program.
We have.
The history, the economics, the ethical questions, and of course, the human stories.
Those stories are at the heart of it all.
And I think one thing is abundantly clear. There are no easy answers. But hopefully this conversation will get people thinking, get people talking.
Yeah, it's a story that deserves our attention, our empathy, and our willingness to challenge how things are done.
We hope you, our listeners, will continue to, think about these issues.
Absolutely.
Keep asking those tough questions and consider what role you can play in creating a fairer system for everyone.
It's about all of us working together.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better world.